Animation is cool. Hi everyone, Evan here and welcome back to the studio. Today's video has been designed for ANSTO's STEAM Club and complements one of their animation challenges. STEAM Club is a series of self-paced STEAM activities that you can do at home and can submit via Google Classroom. A link to their site is in the description down below. Let's get started. Now the first thing we'll be making is a thaumatrope, or wonder turner in English, and it can look like this. There are only 2 frames to this animation and they repeat over and over and over. For this you will need some paper, a bamboo skewer, some dark textures, a pair of scissors and some glue. The first step is to cut 2 rectangles out of your piece of paper that are roughly the same size. Now they don't have to be exact, just close enough is good enough. We'll be sticking our paper to our skewers a bit later, but first we need to decide what it is we're going to animate. We will be ending up with an animation that only has 2 frames before it loops. So some types of animation will look better than others. The best type of movement to animate is the type that naturally repeats. So you wouldn't choose something like a growing flower, but you would choose something like a mouth that would open and close, or eyes that open and close, or some other kind of repeating movement that could go on forever. I'm going to use a Pac-Man type of character like I did in the example, because its mouth is in 2 distinct positions, open and closed, and those are very easy to draw. And also Pac-Man opens and closes his mouth a lot forever as he goes around the screen gobbling up those little dots. So let's start with Pac-Man. My first drawing is going to be of him with his mouth closed. Nice and simple. Something you'll need to do is to draw a little line just down at the bottom, around the middle of your piece of paper. What that is for will become clear a little bit later. So now I can get my other bit of paper. If I've chosen a dark enough texture, I can see through the paper and I can see the outline of Pac-Man. I'm going to draw another little line here where over the old one. And in this one, I'll start with his mouth wide open. I can trace over the rest of his body. If it's not exact, don't worry, it'll be fine. But the closer it is, the better the animation looks. There's his eye. Now I have my 2 frames. I can glue them to our skewer. Because these are going to stick back to back, you only need to glue one side. So I will line up the little line that we drew earlier, I will line that up with the skewer. And the skewer will go almost all the way to the top. The skewer should line itself up with this little line that we drew a little bit earlier. So now I can turn it over and get that little line lined up from the other frame and then squeeze it all together. Now you can see why it's not important to get your rectangles exactly perfect the first time round, because of the way I drew it means that there's little bits sticking out all over the place. So my first thing is to trim those back a little bit, just so it looks a bit neater. The easiest way to spin this, instead of by hand like this, is rolling it between your fingers. Now this is fine as it is, you could stop there, but let's add some details to it. Here, when his mouth is open, I'm going to draw one right in the middle. He's about to gobble. And maybe even another one just poking in the side here of our frame. And then on this page, he's eaten the first dot, and the other dot that we just saw poking through is now a bit closer because Pac-Man is moving, remember. So now we have Pac-Man gobbling up all those dots, but the dots look good, but he needs some movement lines. So I'm going to add some swoosh lines behind him there and make them a bit different looking on the other side. So now we have a swooshing Pac-Man gobbling up all these dots. And your thaumatrope is complete. Now I do have some other examples here to inspire you with, to show you So here is a stick figure bouncing a ball up and down on his knee. Here is the same idea, but just with someone moving their hand up and down, waving to you. And here is one that is quite similar to the Pac-Man really, but instead of Pac-Man hitting the dots, a tap is dripping water. Kineographs or moving drawings are really quite simple, and you've probably already made one before. They're more commonly known as flipbooks, and they're really useful for keeping all of your frames nicely organized and in position. For this, you will need a dark texter or pencil, a pile of post-it notes or a small notepad, and if you have one, a small bulldog clip. The first thing you're going to do is put your clip, if you have one, on the very top of your stack of paper to stop any of your pages coming loose. Here are 3 tips to make your kineograph as good as possible. Number 1, normally anything above halfway is concealed when you flip your pages, and it's very hard to see anything above there. So everything here is off limits. Number 2 is to animate only simple shapes and stick figures. Don't worry about backgrounds or any detail until you're much more experienced. So do things like circles, squares, or stick figures. Number 3 is to overlap all of your drawings from each page. So if on one page I had a circle here, on the next page my circle would be there, and then there, and then there. And my circle would animate from left to right in 10 frames. The smoother your motion, the better your animation will look. Each drawing should only take about 5 seconds to draw. Otherwise, you'll be there for hours drawing every single frame. Those rules again are simple drawings, don't draw above halfway, and overlap all of your pictures. I'm going to make a very simple animation of a ball moving around, hitting the walls of my paper. So I will start on the left side of my page. It is hard to see for you, but I can make out the circle on my previous page beneath showing through. So I'm going to overlap that circle, and I'm going to have it come down in a bit of a curve, like it's been thrown into my scene. So the next one will be overlapping again, but a bit to the side and a little tiny bit down. A bit again. Now you don't need to worry about making all of your drawings perfect. Just worry about small movements overlapping your drawings, and that will make your animation really nice to look at. Now that my ball has hit the bottom of my page, I'm going to flatten it out since it's a bit of a bouncy ball. So my next frame will not be a circle, but it will be a bit of a pancake shape. It's now going to bounce up and continue its movement. So my next one will be a bit of a funny bend here. So because it came from that direction and it's going to come up this way towards this other funny bulge. Something to pay careful attention to is that if you are taking longer than about 5 seconds to draw each frame, you are taking too long. This is about drawing lots of pictures as quick as you can, as smoothly as you can to make a good animation, not about making a detailed picture. So for example, I've already drawn about 20 frames, and that is only a ball coming in from the side of my frame, hitting the ground, bouncing up a little bit. Not much to look at, but hopefully really well animated. I'm now at the part where my ball has hit the edge of my frame. So I might do something a bit fun and have it explode. So it has already started deforming here. So the next one is going to be a big mess of lines and the beginning of the popping effect. I'm going to have my explosion fade away into nothing, so I'm going to have these lines slowly fade away. I am finished. Let's take a look. And there you have it, your first thaumatrope and kineograph. Have fun making your own. Check out the Steam Club link in the description, and I'll see you next time in the workshop. Remember to always make, fail, learn, repeat, and let's get making.